tonight I wanted to talk about a very common subject in spirituality that is called the near-death experience. But before I start, does anybody here have been going through this at all? No? You?
Well, not me personally, but I had a friend who almost walked into traffic, and he went to say goodbye, and I went to high five him, and I saw the car coming, but like without really thinking about it, I held his hands and kept him from stepping into traffic, and as soon as I held him, the car just sped past him. But that was it.
Okay. Okay. So the near-death experience, it's actually an experience that you actually die.
Okay.
Right? Your body. So let's go through the definition really quick. Near-death experiences are intensely vivid and often life-transforming experience, many of which occur under extreme psychological conditions such as trauma, ceasing of the brain activity, deep general anesthesia, or cardiac arrest in which no awareness or sensory experience of any kind should be possible according to the prevailing news in neuroscience. So near-death experience are when somebody goes to an extremely psychological condition, when the cease of brain activity or under a deep general anesthesia or cardiac arrest. So you basically die, or your body are in coma, and it's almost, let's put it this way so we can understand, when the spirit kind of left, but there was still something there. And it's very common, very misunderstood though, on the near-death experience. And this is true. Life is life-transforming experience. Why? Because if you think that you die and you have one of those experiences and you come back to, you see life differently. I know somebody that actually went through a near-death experience through a car accident that he barely survived, and he told me everything that he went through, and it was pretty interesting. But you have many books on this subject, many researches that included researches with kids. Usually kids don't make those kind of stories, but there was a lot of kids that went through cancer or car accident, and actually somebody in my family too, a cousin, that she went to this experience in a car accident. She was 7 years old, and when she was in coma, and when she came back, she said, I spoke to my uncle, Marcelo, and he told me that everything was going to be okay. And then everybody started crying because she never met Uncle Marcelo that died before she was born. And nobody talked about it, him at all, So those type of things we hear all the time. Those are called the near-death experience. Let's see what happens in a near-death experience. It varies from one person to another. They often include such a feature as the following. This is what happened. Feel very comfortable and free of pain. This is what most people, this is not what everybody says, but this is the most common answer. A sensation of leaving the body, sometimes being able to see the physical body while floating above it. This is what people tell you. The mind functioning more clear and more rapidly than us. A sensation of being drawn into a tunnel or darkness. Okay? A bright light, sometimes at the end of the tunnel. That's another very common thing. a sense of overwhelming peace, well-being, or absolutely unconditional love. Some people experience that. A sense of having access to unlimited knowledge. A life review or recall of important events in the past. It's very common too, right? The life goes, the memories of everything that happens. A preview of future events yet to come. That could also happen in those events. Encounter with the deceased loved ones or with other beings that may be identified as religious figure. So when you read the books and the research about near-death experience, you see a lot of people, and that we have to take this under consideration, is that the belief system that the person has play a huge effect on this. So if the person is a Christian, she might see Jesus or Gabriel. If it's a Catholic person, it's very common to see Mary, you know, the mother of Jesus. What do you think it happens? Why will Jewish people see a rabbi and the Christian person might see Jesus?
That's who they connect to.
Okay. But do you actually think that they went through that experience and saw Jesus or Mary?
In my mind.
Okay. But is the mind in your body or it's your mind someplace else? Okay. And what kind of mind this is? Is it local or is it non-local? Those are the questions we have to ask.
Definitely non-local.
Okay? Because if the belief system plays such a huge fact on a near-death experience, we might think that the experience that we will have has a lot to do with our belief system. Is that correct? Okay. So if you believe that you're going to die and you're going to go to umbral, okay? And if you have that in mind, you think that will play, you know, effect. So this is really interesting because when you read these books and when you read the testimonies of people that went through this, you have to see the belief system playing a huge fact on those experiences. Okay, there is a movie about this.
There is a big documentary right now on Netflix called Near Death Experience. There are 6 episodes.
Yeah.
And each one of those is like everybody, 3 of them did not want to come back.
Yeah.
They got angry because they came back.
Yeah, yeah. It happens. It happens too. It happens too. Because you have this, sometimes you can experience this brilliant, sometimes, what is it that said, overwhelm, piecing, and there was a person here that used to come to the center that went through this, and he told me the same thing. He said, I'm so ready to go. You know, I went, I came back, and then I was like, what am I doing here? I want to go. And this is things that they experience that people lives. It's very, let's say, interested. Let's put it this way. So, but I want you to, for this point here, when you read the testimony and you see Mary and Jesus and the rabbi and the Muslim man sees what's his name? Muhammad. And you see this in every single culture. And it's different. The experience changes. Okay? So it's very important for us to remember, number one, that is something that we're all going to go through. That we all need to be prepared for. The death of the body is something that's going to happen to us. And when you see this testimony, you have to question yourself, what is my beliefs? what is your belief right now? What do you think is going to happen to you when you die?
A new beginning.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. You know how important this belief system is, you know, that if whatever you think it's possible, you can create that possibility. We don't know exactly what's going to happen to all of us. We can't know that. We don't know that. But we have books. We have Heaven and Hell, Heaven and Hell. We have a bunch of books that Andrea Luiz that tells the reality of that particular person. But it doesn't mean that this is going to happen to us. We have to be very careful with this. Okay, we read those books and we think that's what happens to everybody. No, this was an experience of someone that went through this, and this is what happened to that particular person. Everything is different when it comes to that. We all gonna have different experience, and that experience, it has to do a lot with how we think what's gonna happen to us. I don't know if you saw this book from Andrea Luiz that's called Liberation. It's a story, it's a very interesting story. It's a story of a guy, okay, a very religious guy, that he died, and he thought that his job was to make everybody pays for their people, for everybody's sins. So what happens is, if you die and you believe that you have to pay for your sins, there is a place there waiting for you. And the actual guy that was there telling people, you know, this is what you're going to have to do to pay for your debt. But it's his own belief system playing a huge role on the spiritual plane. And we have to be aware of this, because we have to be careful with this. We have to be careful in what we believe, so we are not manipulated in what could happen and the possibility that we have. So while these features are commonly reported, many near-death experiences differ from this pattern and includes other elements. For example, some near experience may be frightening or distress rather than peaceful. Not a lot of people talk about this, but it happens a lot. So it could be a wonderful experience, but it could also be a distressing experience. But what I want to talk to you about is an article that I was reading about near that experience on a scientific magazine. And there is one thing that happens on near-death experience that, to me, got my attention. Besides the life transformation and all that, is the capability that your body has to heal after a near-death experience. So a study shows that if the person who has a near-death experience, and I'm talking about those encounters, the memories that they have, that what actually happened, all this, for some reason, heal your body. Remember, people that have near-death experience are people that are in very difficult conditions. Like this guy that I heard his stories on near-death experience, because this is what I do, right? So a person came in and I met him, and he told me, oh, I was in this really bad accident and I was in coma he was in coma for like 2 months. So I asked, the first question, I said, did you have a near-death experience? And he started laughing, said, really? You're the first person that asked me. And yes, I did have a near-death experience. And he started talking to me and telling me what happened to him. Was pretty interesting. But he recovered. So what the science is trying to understand is what's going on with the body, that when you have this type of experience, you usually recover fully. Isn't that interesting? What's going on? How can we explain that? So this article was talking about, they have documentary of a lot of people that went through that experience and got fully recovered, difficult conditions. So we are particularly interested in the studies of near-death experience that may bear on the question whether the mind can function outside the physical body and or whenever we may survive bodily death. That's one of the research that they're trying to get it. One such a type of experience is called vertical and near-death experience, in which experience acquire verify information that they could not have obtained by any normal means. For an example, some experience reports seeing events going at some distant location, such as another room of the hospital. Very common with kids that go through that experience. Or an experience might meet a deceased loved one who then communicates variable information the experience had not known. Other kinds of near-death experience that may bear on the mind-body question include those in which mental function seems to be enhanced despite physiological evidence that the brain is impaired. That's near-death experience. So let's go for what they call the case report, right? This is what actually happened with this guy. So, full neurological recovery from Escherichia coli meningitis associated with near-death experience. And this patient is a 54-year-old, otherwise healthy white man, was brought to emergency department with altered mental status. He had no prior history of neurological disorder or immunological deficiency. In the emergency department, he became increasingly confused, agitated, and unresponsive, was intubated for airway protection, and then underwent emergency lumbar puncture. Over the next 4 days, he remained sedated and intubated with little to no neurological improvement. His pupils remain small but non-reactive, with neck stiffness and pain on flexion. He received sedation with haloperidol, lorazepam, and fentanyl. He was clearly critical will during the first 5 days of his hospitalization, as documented in these medical records and supplementary documentary from and discussion with the consultant neurologist. In addition, the infection disease specialist consultant in this case noted that despite his aggressive antibiotic treatment, his symptom profile and extended coma suggested a mortality rate over 97%. During this period, his GCS score was between 6 and 7, indicating severe brain impairment. So this is the case that there was a bunch of one. I just picked that one, okay? So this is what happens. The patient was extubated in hospital on day 6. He remained awake but appeared confused. On hospital day 7, he appeared dramatically improved, recognized family and colleagues, but repeatedly asked the same question about his illness, suggesting impair in short-term memory. So this guy, which most of the medical crew had no hope for, recovers, okay? This is the story. On hospital day 9, after he's recovered, the patient reported that he had a near-death experience, including accurate description of events that he claims to have perceived from a visual perspective outside his physical body. For an example, he reported to his family and to his physician having seen specific individuals who were not family members praying around his bed in the ICU. An event that had occurred in the hospital day 5 while he was in deep coma. This event, which corroborated by his family and by hospital staff, was unlikely to have been an informed guest, as visitors other than family would routinely not permit to visit the ICU. Based on details of the event that he actually described having observed during his coma, his near-death experience can be placed between hospital days 1 and 5. On those 5 days, his GCS score, charted twice a day, ranged between 6 and 7, indicated severe brain impairment. So those are his situations on the first day, and that indicate, right, severe. And then we see, we want to, what they see here in this document is that after he had the near-death experience, he started to improve. That's what it is. 2 months later, at his follow-up visit with the neurologist, his doctor reported that although at the time of his hospitalization, the patient had a severe case of E. coli meningitis and was near death with a CSF glucose of 1. Since that episode, he had made a complete and remarkable recovery without any residual neurological issues. He described his near-death experience as beginning in a quartz murky realm. This is what he said it happened to him, from which he was pulled by a slowly spinning white line of great clarity, associated with a musical melody, into an ultra-real valley, filled with light and colors beyond the normal visual spectrum, in which he seems to have nobody but existed as a speck of awareness. That's what happens to him. He was met by a young woman who thought of unconditional love and assures, promised he would be taken care of it, that he had nothing to fear, that he was completely loved by God. He then entered increasingly refined spiritual realms, finally arrived at the infinite, inky blackness, filled to overflow with divine unconditional love and with a brilliant light. Prominent features of his account, typical of a near-death experience, including being surrounded by darkness, followed by a bright line, a sensation of existing outside his physical body, subjective transition to an unfamiliar place, reported meeting with a deceased relative unknown to him at time of the experience, as described below, reported encounter with a spiritual being, sensation of communicating without words. Okay? And retrospective feeling that his experience was realer than his usual experience. This is real. This means real. There have been some reports of near-death experience in which the patient had been ostensibly led to think during the experience that he or she would have a full recovery. That did not occur in this patient experience. Neither was there any suggestion in his patient experience that he was given a choice to return to life or not. In fact, he reported that during his near-death experience, he had no awareness whatsoever of ever having had an existence in any realm outside the near-death experience to which to return. What do you guys think about that?
I think he was in touch with his higher self for a moment there.
Right? After his recovery, he described to his wife and to others a detailed physical description of the unidentified young woman who had accompanied him in his near-death experience. The patient had been adopted at birth and grew up without knowing his birth family. 4 months after his coma, his birth system, who he had met shortly before, sent him a photograph of his other sister, of other birth sister who had died 10 years earlier. When he saw the patient was stunned to recognize this full biological sister whom he had never known as the unidentified woman who had accompanied him in his near-death experience. So he had a sister that he didn't know, and that sister was that woman that was talking to him. To our knowledge, this is the first medical record review of a case of severe meningoencephalitis associated with a near-death experience. This is particularly relevant because of the specific and devastating effect of meningoencephalitis on the neocortex compared with cardiac arrest and other more common conditions associated with near-death experience. Of interest, other near-death experiences occur under well-documented medical supervision, have been associated with unexpected recovery from conditions thought to be irreversible. How cool is that? Amazing. So, but I wanted to, I don't have the answers for you tonight. I really don't. I just want you to be curious about what is going on the near-death experience that affects your body. Something.
I think, well, in my opinion, because I've been watching pretty much every single one thing, because my husband worked in a transplant unit, so he told me all the different kind of stories.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always listening to things, and I feel that people come back with that much recovery, because when you cross, your body has the release of air, everything, so there is nothing to attach, and when he come back, it's like he has a completely new body, like there is nothing bad attached. So I think that's how they recover. It's so fast.
Okay, that's a theory, right? She's telling about this, that when you go and then you come back kind of clean, you know, that's one way if you wanna. Anybody else have another idea why this is possible?
I think maybe when they have a near-death experience, they catch a little glimpse of what's on the other side, and they come back reinvigorated with a desire to live and to maybe do things differently now that they have a new perspective.
Okay, that's another thing. What else? What do you guys think? Because this is something that we have to reflect upon it and see it. You know, most of the near-death experience, all this near-death experience, when you have that event, okay, from condition that will be irreversible, that's huge, guys. Okay, so look at the situation of that guy over there. You know, the mortality rate for him was 97%, and he makes a full recovery. Okay, and I'm talking about from brain functions. I mean, if he's alive, yes, okay, but fully recover after that, that means that something happens in this phenomenon. It reminds me a little bit of somnambulism, you know, because somnambulism is when you put a person on the magnetic healing. It's not a regular sleep, it's actually an induced magnetic sleep. That when the person achieves that magnetic sleep, and a lot of times they have experience on the other realms, or they can see stuff that they usually can't see it when they are laying down. They can't hear, they can't feel anything. There's a lot of things that happen. And usually when that person goes to that magnetic sleep, it recovers much faster than a person that never achieved the magnetic sleep. And the magnetic sleep, it's the way you know that the person is really in magnetic sleep is, number one, she doesn't remember anything, but she does talk and she does see things from a distance. Like you may say, okay, I have an object on the other room, what is it? And the person tells you what the object is. They can read with their eyes closed when they are in that state. It's just something, to talk about, to see if there is any relation, what happens, because when Kardec explains sonambulism, he's going to say that the body, that the spirit leaves the body for a little while, and then it comes back. That's why the person can see things without using their physical eyes, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So just some thoughts right there. And another thing that we can talk about it's how sleep sometimes can heal your body. And especially if you have psychiatrists, like problems like any of when you're too agitated, the doctor will say you have to sleep, you have to sleep, you have to sleep, because sleep can also cause some recovery. The problem is the person can't fall asleep, but when they do, they recover fast.
That's the reason why when people go through major trauma, some patients have to be put in an induced coma, because the induced coma will recover.
You see, something happens to us when we sleep, when we leave our body, but this near-death experience is when you are very, let's put it this way, disattached from the body in the maximum way possible, that you almost are completely detached. You're not completely detached, but you're almost that. And then when that situation happens, you come back to the body and you get to recover from brain functions that pretty amazing.
Is there information if the guy believes in life after that?
No, he didn't. He had no belief. He didn't. He never said he did not believe or he believed. He was neutral.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And amazing, most of those documentary has been with the doctors that neuroscientists that go through that, and when they come back, they have a completely different perspective.
Yeah, perspective, I get it, but your physical health, it's something that maybe, there was
like
something that.
He would say that they believe,
Yeah.
He didn't believe in any of those things, but
Doesn't believe anything is different.
Yeah.
I just maybe that we're receiving an infusion of energy from the spirits out in the spirit world.
Could be.
There's no impediment because the material body is not in the way. Actually.
Mm-hmm.
But then the spirit is rejuvenated by higher spirits and then comes back to the body.
Okay, but don't you find it interesting that they cannot do this? Why we are not in this type of situation? Because all the good spirits wants to do that for us, right? If they could, they would, right? Give us all the energy. But when they are in this situation,
That's what I'm saying. There's no impediment in that situation.
right? So, yeah, it could be a lot of things. Suggesting possible benefits, research into.
It could be that when the spirit is in this situation,
Mm-hmm.
right, and he goes in and deals with that experience, he experiments a good experience, right, an near-death experience,
Mm-hmm.
and that changes the way, let's put it this way, he believes system towards physical reality change. And that could be
Ill.
The body.
Yes, that could be also a reason. Do you have an idea, Rafa? No?
Understand?
Yeah, yeah.
Huh?
The basic what he says. Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah, he said that earlier. She said that too. Something positive. I'm more like sometimes my mind is very logical, and I wanted to know how exactly, if that is your perspective and you think that's possible, how this new you enters the body and what happens to your system, to your brain function that gets healed. How would that happen? You know, exactly. Do you get my question? Okay. So that is also what I'm thinking, you know? So let's see. Near-death experience might facilitate healings. Evolutionary biologists have speculated that the seniority experience during a near-death experience might lower metabolic demand. This is what they think it happens. And conserve energy reserves, conserve energy reserve, enhancing the possibility of recovery in a potential fatal crisis. That's what they think could happen. It is plausible that near-death experience may influence the triggering of immune and inflammatory response to combat bacterial challenge and reduce neurologic sequelae. This is what they think it could happen. So let's look at it at this first here when he said, have speculated as serenity experience during a near-death experience of my lower metabolic demands.
Yeah, because you don't have the density of the body. So that's completely eliminated.
Right? You don't understand?
How
So if the let's put it this way, if the spirit is not there, you know, and it leaves, let's put it this way, the serenity experience during the near-death experience might lower metabolic demands. So they're saying the person is still connected with the body, but because they have such a wonderful experience, on the other side, that serenity affects the body. Yeah, it could be. It could be, right? It could be. And then you got it now? Yeah. Okay. And lower metabolic demand and conserve energy reserves, enhancing the possibility of recovery and potential fat. And this is another explanation here that may influence the trigger of immune and inflammatory response to combat bacterial challenge and reduce neurological. So for some reason, your immune system on that particular experience, because of that particular experience, it gets triggered to combat bacteria and that, you know, and reduce neurological sequelae.
That's where I think that it got wiped out completely, and when it come back, there is nothing there. There is no damage because the damage was done to the physical body, not to the spirit's body. So
it could be, you know, I think that sometimes we can think about this quantum experience, not the theory, but this quantum jump that sometimes we can achieve when we live some kind of joyful experience. You know, it's something within you may change. You know, that's what the guy here on Wednesday was explaining about quantum healing. He was saying that when you go to that level that you see unconditional love and you feel that wonderful experience and all that, you can actually heal your body. Now, if we think that it's a very joyful experience could heal our body, we may think that, okay, maybe mediumship can do the same thing. Right? Because it's not on that level, but you're still associating with non-local experience, and that experience of joy, and see that the life goes on, and that we have many possibilities instead of us be attached here to this life, this name, this body, and everything that that's going on this 3D. And maybe, just maybe, if we are interested in something else, but not interested only here, but taking the heart with you to have joy more often than we do it, we might be able to trigger our immune system and heal our bodies. Right? Wonderful, joyful experience does not require something to happen to us. We can invoke those experiences by simply, I don't know, looking at the moon, at the sun, at the animal, at each other. It doesn't have to something extraordinary happens to us, but we forget who we are, and we are too identified with this life, with this 3D, with this persona that we carry on. And with that, we'll forget to experience wonderful things that it's right there for us to touch. We don't need to have a near-death experience to actually have an encounter with somebody that we love that is just passed. Mediumship allows us to do this all the time. The problem at the Spirit Center is that we think that mediumship is done to the mind, and it's not. It's done through your body. It's non-locally. It's with intuition. It has nothing to do with this mind here, with this local memory that it's in here. You have to be able to access what is non-locally. Non-local. In order to do that, we need to be interested in this. The problem with us is that we are too interested on our everyday life. This 3D world here, it takes all of our attention, especially with phones right now, that keeps you almost 80% of your time in here you're on your phone. That keeps your mind going, and you forget to live. It's a problem. You want to gather information. You want to live in your mind. You want to look at what's going on, and that all what's going on in these 3D worlds. I want to see what my friend is eating for lunch. That interested me for some kind of reason. I don't know why that's interested, but that interests a lot of people. So if you want to have those kind of non-local experience, we gotta be interested on the non-local. If you take all your energy to here, to the problems here, to the things here, this is gonna consume all your energy. And when you wanted to be interested on a non-local, you have to start to use your mind, ask questions, see the experience, be interested in joyful experience. Don't think that something has to happen to you for you to have joy. No, you have joy because it's you. You are allowed to enjoy joyful experience all the time. When you're driving, when you're here, when you go there in the past, you can have a wonderful experience, but you have to be interested in that experience. And you have to use your mind you can use your mind to find ways that you can do that. Find ways that what makes you relax. Are you too interested? This is the mind that's going to tell you. There's no other way. Otherwise, an animal could do it, you know. But if you want to take that decision to live a different life, you have to be interested in something else. And those type of stories is wonderful for us to see, oh my God, there is really something bigger than me going on, bigger than my name, bigger than my image, bigger than my job, bigger than my preference in politics. And that's the way we should achieve those experiences. We got it, want it. You want it, you have it. And that's what I have for you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.